Behind me is my turbocharged CBR1000RR powered Miata. And today I'm going to be testing out Supermiata's Tecna coilovers. Now I'll admit, I'm not much of a suspension guy. I'm more of a drivetrain and horsepower kind of guy. But I have been running just some cheap teen coilovers on this car for over 10 years now, so I figured it was time for an upgrade. I went with the Tecna coilovers from Supermiata, and they offer 3 spring rates for this. I went with their softest spring rates, which are 6K front and 4K rear. They call that their GT coilover. So that's what I have here. So I'm gonna get them installed. I'm gonna set the ride height, and then we're gonna take the car out to do some testing. I'm gonna get a lot of driving footage in the car, outside of the car. We'll do some flybys, just because I know that's why a lot of you are here. But I really wanna see if these coilovers can make this car just a little bit more streetable, being so light. And I think the coilovers on it now have a pretty high spring rate, so I think these should definitely help. Now I went ahead and got them unboxed. You get your coilovers, obviously, your 4 adjustment caps, and your classic coilover wrenches. So you can see this one, I already got the cap installed. I'm not sure how many clicks each way, but I'm gonna be running these on their softest setting to start. We'll see how they do. So I started the install with the front coilovers, and the first thing I noticed with the new Tecna coilovers are just how much longer they are than my old ones. And with my car being so light compared to the average 2300 pound Miata, I'm not sure if I can get my ride height as low as it used to be, but the way I see it is that with the Tecnas being longer, they should have a way larger operating window and work a lot better for me. I lowered the car down and gave it some bounces to get the new coilovers kind of settled down to their natural ride height. I then moved on to the rear coilovers, which is where the Tecna magic really happens. The spring takes up so much of the shock that they actually had to offset the coilover towards the rear of the vehicle to give clearance for the rear axles. With everything all buttoned up and my ride height set, I'm excited to see what the car will feel like on the street. So I'm going to push it out of the garage and take it for a rip. So I got the Tecna coilovers installed. I set the ride height. Now let's take the car out for a spin and see how they feel. Alright, so this is actually the second drive I've done after the Tecna coilover install. And it could just be placebo, but the first thing I noticed yesterday when I took the car out was I just feel less of everything. So I'm not talking about in terms of responsiveness, but I'm talking about all the little bumps and cracks and little potholes and stuff like that. It feels a little bit more numb, which is good for me because it's making this car a lot more streetable. Especially with being in these Kirky seats that are directly mounted to the chassis, everything from the road seems to kind of transfer up through to the seat and then into my body, obviously. So any way I can kind of soften this car up is going to be a big win. Now I do So for as well as these shocks feel just kind of driving through town and over little bumps and whatnot, they feel very planted out here in the twisties. I'm not pushing the car extremely hard, obviously just being on the street, and I don't want to get too reckless, but they feel really nice for what I'm doing. All right, so after initial testing, I'm very happy with the ride quality of these Tecna coilovers. The car felt great in the corners, but more importantly, I feel a lot less of the road when I'm just kind of daily driving. I think it helped tame the car down on the street. Like I said, being in a drag seat that is solid mounted to the chassis, I feel everything. So the more tame I can get this car, I think the more likely I'll be to actually drive it. I'm going to leave it at that, and thanks for watching.